Hello students, welcome to LODLC lecture series on MKC 309 Management Theory, Study Section 3. The title of today's topic is The Evolution of Management Theory. Introduction. Now that you have had an idea of what management is, it is time for you to learn the history of management thought. One of the best ways to understand this study section is to ask yourself why you should be concerned with the history of management. According to Robert N. Lucia 2000 provides the answer. Lucia states that there are two primary reasons why you should be concerned about the history of management. 1. To better understand the current development. 2. To avoid repeating mistakes. Therefore, in this study section, you will be introduced to why you need to know the history of management, evolution of schools of management thought, and development of each management theory. Outline of study section 3. When you have studied this section, you should be able to 1. Define a theory and explain why you need to study the history of management, explain the evolution of schools of management thought, and 3. Describe the development of each management theory. Definition of a theory. According to John Clancy 1989, defines a theory as a coherent group of assumptions put forth to explain the relationship between two or more observable facts. A theory embraces a set of interrelated definitions and relationships that organizes our concept of understanding of the empirical world in a systematic way. Why study management theory? Now that you know what a theory is, you need to also know why you have to study management theory. There are reasons for studying management theory. 1. The theory provides a stable focus for understanding what we experience. That is, it provides criteria for determining what is relevant. 2. It enables us to communicate efficiently and thus move into more and more complex relationships with other people. 3. It makes it possible or even challenges us to keep learning about our world. Evolution of schools of management thought. Management practice dates back to several years ago. The development of management as a field of knowledge is a relatively recent development. The Industrial Revolution served as the impetus for this development. This industrial revolution led to the emergence of factories, and with the more development of many factories comes the widespread need to coordinate the efforts of large numbers of people in the regular production of goods. This situation led to the birth of different schools of thought on management. The first of this school of thought is the classical theory, which forms the basis of these sections. Development of classical theory. Classical theory, according to L.F. Wick in 1967, developed in 3 streams. 1. Bureaucracy. 2. Administrative theory. 3. Scientific management. These 3 streams were founded on similar assumptions. The 3 streams were developed between the 1900 and 1950. But note that each of these 3 streams was developed by separate groups of writers working almost completely independently of each other. Development of classical theory. The emergence of bureaucratic school. This is the first component of classical theories of management, developed mainly by sociologists who took a scholarly, detached, and descriptive point of view. The impetus for forming and studying bureaucracy, according to the word of Albert H. Simon 1994, springs from the complexity of the modern civilization. According to him, in recent warfare, an entire army was often commanded by a single man, and its authority extended in a very complete and direct form to the lowest man in the rank. This was possible because the entire battlefield was within the range of a man's voice and vision, and because tactics was for the most part executed by the entire army in unison. But this is no longer possible in the modern complex warfare. Operations involving many highly technical specialists from the air, naval, land, and recently space forces that must work under complex command. Emergence of administrative theory under classical theory. This is the second component of classical theory. The administrative school was developed by writers whose primary interest was in directly improving practice. Administrative theory and bureaucracy are related, even almost identical. Both are largely deductive and view the organization as a mere mental construct. However, while bureaucracy was developed by sociologists who took a detached scholarly view, administrative was developed by practical men of action. Mainly, they were practicing managers. The major focus of administrative theorists was to prescribe principles and other concepts for achieving llama. The emergence of scientific school The emergence of scientific management school. This is the third management component of scientific management theory. It was developed also around 1900. The focus of this school was on the individual worker and foreman, particularly in manufacturing activities. Scientific management arose in part from the need to increase productivity. Development of the behavioral school of thought. The behavioral school emphasizes on the importance of attempting to understand the various factors that affect human behavior in organizations. The four main schools under the behavioral theory are early behavioral school, Orton studies, human relations school, and the behavioral science approach. The early behavioral theorists took interest in offering alternatives to the emphasis on engineering that characterized the scientific management school. The Orton studies were a group of studies conducted at the Orton plant of Western Electric Company in the late 1920s and early 1930s. The findings of the study led to the human relations view and The findings of the studies led to human relations view, a behavioral view that emphasized concern for the workers. A human relation is commonly used as a general term in this. A human relation is commonly used as a general term to describe the ways in which managers interact with their employees. The school arose from early attempts to systematically discover the social and psychological factors that would create effective human relations. The behavioral science school developed out of needs for a more complex view of the work situation. The behavioral scientists brought two new dimensions to study of management. One, they advanced a more sophisticated view of human beings and their drives than did the earlier theorists. Two, they applied the methods of scientific investigation to the study of how people behave in organizations as whole entities. Quantitative management theory. The quantitative management theory emerged as a major force during World War II. The magnitude of the war effort caused by the British and then the United States military service to turn to a quantitative method for help in determining the most effective use of resources. The quantitative viewpoint focuses on the use of mathematics, statistics, and information aids to support managerial decision making and organizational effectiveness. Quantitative management theory. The various schools under the quantitative management theory are 1. Management science or operation research. 2. Operations management. 3. Management information system. Management science or operation research. Under management science or operational research, the Britain at the beginning of the World War II needed to solve a number of new complex problems in warfare. Struggling to survive, the British formed the first Operation Research Team by pooling the expertise of mathematicians, physicists, and other scientists in operation research. Britain was able to achieve major technological and tactical breakthrough. When America entered the war, they also formed operational research to solve the same problem. At the end of the war, the need to apply operational research to problems in industry became obvious. New industrial technologies were being put to use after the war. For instance, transportation and communication became more complicated. This development brings with them some problems that could not be solved by conventional means. Consequently, operational research specialists were called to help managers come up with answers to these problems. Note that operational research and management science are synonymous. And second school under quantitative management theory is the operation management. This is the management approach that uses quantitative method to improve the productivities and increase efficiency of goods and service production. The techniques of being used as inventory management and network modeling to improve decision making about distribution and operational methods. And lastly, we have management information system as a school under quantitative management theory. You will easily recollect that this is the third strand of the quantitative management school. The viewpoint arose because many organizations now find it difficult to handle large amounts of information in the new and better ways. Hence, the computer-based information system for used by managers is employed. Evolution of contemporary management school. The last of the management theory is referred to as the contemporary school of thought. This school of thought was developed largely in the 1950s. The viewpoint can be understood from three perspectives. 1. Systems theory. 2. Contingency theory. 3. Emerging views. Under system theory, the theory rather than dealing separately with the various segments of an organization views the organization as a unified, purposeful system composed of interrelated parts. The system theory arose to develop the influence of both internal and external environments on organizations. We also have contingency theory. The theory is also known as situational approach. The need towards a more open system approach to thinking about organizations led to the emergence of the contingency theory. The theory holds that different forms of organizational designs and management systems are appropriate under differing circumstances. Then lastly, we have emerging view. Emerging view represent the promising approaches that may develop into major viewpoints if research supports their relevance. One major emerging view is the Japanese management, represented by Theory Z. Theory Z involves merging of the positive aspects of American and Japanese management into a modified approach. Now we have come to the end of today's lecture series. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you in the next class. Have a lovely day.